a $20,000 robot that replaces a $60,000 a year personal driver. That's the claim Tesla is making about Optimus. And if you're skeptical, that's exactly the right instinct, because there's a version of this story that's genuinely exciting, and there's a version where the math doesn't work for years. The question is, which version is actually true right now? By the end of this video, you'll have a real answer. The $60,000 problem nobody talks about. Picture yourself standing in your driveway. You're looking at the car you make payments on every month, and for just a moment, add up what it actually costs you to have someone drive you places. A full-time personal driver in the United States earns between $44,000 and $65,000 a year, depending on location and experience, according to ZipRecruiter's most recent data. That's just salary. It doesn't count payroll taxes, which add roughly 7 to 8% on top. It doesn't count health benefits, which a full-time employee typically expects. It doesn't count paid time off, sick days, or the fact that a human being can only work so many hours before they need to rest. When you add employer-side costs on top of a $50,000 salary, the real total lands closer to $65,000 to $70,000 a year. Now, most of you watching this don't have a personal driver. Let's be direct about that up front. This is a niche expense, but here's why it matters anyway. What Tesla is actually saying with Optimus isn't just to replace chauffeurs. They're saying a robot that costs $20,000 could handle transportation-related tasks, errands, assistance, and mobility support that currently require a human being on payroll. That's a much bigger claim than it first sounds. And it raises an obvious question, but whether this entire idea works comes down to one distinction that almost every Optimus video gets wrong, because Optimus isn't replacing the driver the way most people think it is. Let me show you what Optimus actually is and what it isn't. Let's start with what Optimus actually is, because there's a lot of confusion out there. Optimus is not a self-driving car. It doesn't sit behind the wheel and steer. Tesla's autonomous vehicles drive through Tesla's FSD software and camera-based AI. Optimus works around the vehicle, before and after the ride, loading luggage, helping a passenger out of the car, running into the store to grab something, navigating the tasks that require hands and legs, not wheels. That distinction matters a lot, and keeping it clear is the only way to honestly evaluate this technology. So what is Optimus physically? The current generation stands about 5 feet 8 inches and weighs roughly 125 pounds. It walks at about 1.2 meters per second. It carries up to 45 pounds. Its Gen 3 hands have 22 degrees of freedom, powered by 50 actuators across both hands and forearms. Those hands are a significant engineering achievement. That level of dexterity, verified in February 2026, lets the robot pick up objects that earlier versions simply couldn't handle without crushing or dropping them. The brain running all of this is about to get a serious upgrade. Tesla taped out its AI-5 chip on April 15, 2026. That chip delivers roughly 5 times the useful compute of the previous generation. Musk confirmed Optimus will be the first product to receive it, ahead of Tesla's own vehicles, and the price Elon Musk has set as the long-term target is $20,000, not today's price, not the near-term selling price. The eventual, at-scale goal. Tesla's own build cost estimates today run somewhere between $50,000 and $100,000 per unit. First external sales are targeting around $30,000 in late 2026 if production proceeds on schedule. That gap between $20,000 and the current reality is important, and the entire math section of this video depends on understanding it clearly. But first, let's see what a world with Optimus actually looks like day to day. A day with Optimus. It's early morning, you need to get to an appointment across town. In this scenario, you have an Optimus and a Tesla set to autonomous mode. The car navigates on its own, but Optimus handles what the car can't. Before you leave, it carries your bag to the vehicle, opens the door, confirms you're settled, and loads whatever you're bringing with you. You don't lift a finger, you arrive at your destination. Optimus assists you out of the vehicle if needed. If you've got mobility challenges, that matters more than almost anything else on this list. Later in the afternoon, you need groceries. Imagine you're 70 years old with a bad knee. You used to dread grocery runs, now you stay in the car. Optimus goes in with a list, navigates the store, places items in a cart, loads bags, and returns. It's not fast. At 1.2 meters per second, it moves at a slow, walking pace. A grocery run might take 45 minutes instead of 20. But you didn't have to get out of the car. That evening, you've got dinner out. An autonomous car gets you there. Optimus helps you to the entrance, handles the return trip, and carries anything you've brought home. The image Tesla is selling isn't speed, it's independence. The ability to move through your day without depending on another human being's schedule, availability, or willingness to show up. That has real value, especially for older adults, for people with mobility limitations, and for anyone who has ever tried to coordinate a driver for something routine and found it unexpectedly complicated. But there's a version of this picture where the clock face is blank. Because Optimus can't do most of what I just described, at least not yet. But everything I just described depends on one assumption, that Optimus can do those tasks reliably without a human stepping in, and that's exactly where the story gets uncomfortable. The gap between the demo and reality. This is the section that matters most. Let's go through what's actually true, what's a near-term goal, and what's speculation. Confirmed as of mid-2026, Tesla has deployed units of Optimus inside its own Fremont and Austin factories. The company says more than 1,000 units are now operating inside Tesla facilities, primarily gathering training data and refining the AI. But on the January 2026 earnings call, Musk himself acknowledged those units were doing essentially zero productive work. They were primarily collecting data and training the AI. The goal is learning, not output. That's an important distinction. Gen 3 hands were confirmed in February 2026 with 22 degrees of freedom and 50 actuators. Those are real specs, and the capability jump from earlier versions is legitimate. What we don't have confirmed yet is reliability at scale. How often does the hand fail a task? What's the error rate on object handling in uncontrolled environments? Tesla hasn't published that data publicly. Fremont production of Optimus is scheduled to begin in late July or August 2026. On the Q1 2026 earnings call, Musk warned that initial output would be quite slow, and that it was literally impossible to predict the production rate for this year. That's a significant walkback from January 2025, when he said Tesla would build roughly 10,000 units in 2025. That target was ultimately missed by a very wide margin. Now, the October 2024 Wii robot event. Optimus robots walked around and interacted with guests. It looked impressive. But Tesla did not disclose at the time that the robots were primarily operated via remote teleoperation. Competitors, including Figure AI and Agility Robotics, specifically called this out after the event. That's not a minor footnote. Demonstrations that rely on hidden human control are not evidence of autonomous capability. Similarly, the popcorn-serving robot demonstrated at the Tesla diner froze mid-task and required intervention. These are not signs that the technology doesn't work, but they are honest evidence of where the gap between stage demo and real-world deployment actually sits. First, limited external sales to enterprise customers are targeted for late 2026 at roughly $30,000. Consumer availability is most likely at the end of 2027 at the earliest. Broad availability at meaningful volume is probably 2028 to 2029. That's based on production ramp timelines from Tesla's own earnings calls, cross-referenced with independent analysts. The market context helps calibrate why this still matters despite the gaps. Goldman Sachs projects the global humanoid robot market to be around $38 billion by 2035. Morgan Stanley has published long-range projections as high as $5 trillion by 2050. Those numbers aren't Tesla-specific, but they signal where institutional money thinks this technology is heading. So here's the bottom line on the reality check. The hardware is real and improving. The AI is advancing faster than most people expected. The demonstrations showing delicate object handling are genuine. But the commercial product that can reliably replace a driver for daily tasks doesn't exist yet at a consumer scale. and Tesla's track record on timelines is, to be fair, not strong. When the math actually works. Let's run the numbers honestly. Two scenarios. Scenario 1. You currently employ a part-time driver or personal assistant who helps with transportation 2 to 3 times a week. All-in cost after salary, taxes, and benefits, somewhere between $30,000 and $45,000 a year, depending on hours and location. You purchase an Optimus at the near-term external sale price of $30,000. Over 3 years, your cost is that one-time purchase plus maintenance. Even at $30,000 up front and a few thousand a year in servicing costs, you break even with a part-time human assistant in roughly a year and a half to 2 years. The math in that specific scenario is compelling. Scenario 2. You're a professional who drives yourself and occasionally uses rideshare for convenience. You don't have a driver. You're not paying $60,000 a year to anyone. In this case, Optimus doesn't replace an existing expense. It adds a new one, a $30,000 purchase for a robot that handles tasks you currently handle yourself or that a rideshare covers for a few dollars a trip doesn't pencil out quickly. Here's what I'm actually pointing at. The $60,000 figure represents the true total employer cost of a full-time personal driver at the upper range of typical salaries. The $20,000 figure is Musk's long-term manufacturing target at mass production scale. Both numbers are real, but they exist in different time frames. Today's robot costs more. Today's salary is what it is. The payback math only works well if you're actually replacing an ongoing human labor expense. Go back to that person in the driveway. If they're 68 years old, retired, and currently paying a part-time aide to help with errands and transportation 3 days a week at $25 an hour, Optimus at $30,000 replaces that in less than 2 years. For them, the math is the best argument for buying one. If they're 52, healthy, and self-sufficient, the math is a long-term bet on future capability, not a near-term financial win. Don't let anyone simplify this into one answer. It's two very different answers, depending entirely on who you are. The timeline everyone wants to know. Optimus production at Fremont begins late July or August 2026. Gen 3 reveal is targeted for around the same time. Initial volume will be low, Musk's own word, and output figures for this year are genuinely unknown even inside Tesla. First commercial sales to select enterprise partners are targeted for late 2026 at around $30,000 per unit. No consumer pre-orders exist, no waitlist. Tesla has not opened public sales. Consumer availability is most likely at the end of 2027 based on confirmed statements from the Q4 2025 and Q1 2026 earnings calls. Broad availability at a price closer to $20,000 requires manufacturing scale that doesn't exist yet. Independent analysts put that closer to 2028 or 2029. The AI-5 chip, which will power Optimus with roughly 5 times the compute of the previous generation, is taped out as of April 2026. Volume production of the chip itself targets mid to late 2027. If you're thinking about this as a near-term purchase, 2027 is the earliest realistic window, and even then at a higher price than the headline number. If you're thinking about it as a technology to watch, the next 6 months of factory performance data from Fremont will be the most important signal yet. 3 things that actually matter. First, the $20,000 number is Elon Musk's long-term manufacturing target. Today's near-term external sales price is closer to $30,000. Today's build cost is estimated between $50,000 and $80,000. The headline figure requires a scale that doesn't exist yet. Second, the math works in one specific scenario, replacing an existing ongoing human labor cost for transportation or assistance. It doesn't automatically work for everyone. Know which category you're in before getting excited about the numbers. Third, Optimus is real technology making real progress. The hardware is advancing. The AI-5 chip confirms Tesla is treating this seriously at the silicon level. But verified autonomous capability in uncontrolled everyday environments hasn't been demonstrated publicly at the reliability needed for consumer deployment. Demonstrations and production readiness are two different things. Go back to that person in the driveway. They've been looking at the car they make payments on, and now they're thinking about whether a robot changes that picture. Honestly, not today. Probably not in 2026, but the direction this is heading is clearer than it's ever been. And for people with genuine daily transportation and assistance needs, the question in 2 to 3 years won't be whether this is possible. It'll be whether Tesla got there first. If this gave you a clear, honest look at what Tesla's Optimus can and can't actually do, hit like and subscribe. No fluff here, just the real picture. Next video, Tesla's Powerwall. There's a program that may let certain seniors offset almost the entire cost. We're going through the actual numbers to see if it holds up.